Welcome back to another video. I'm Tipsy, and today we'll be covering everything you need to know about fishing in Warframe. So if you're a beginner or veteran with questions about fishing, this video should cover it all, so let's just get into it. To start fishing in Warframe, you will need a spear to fish with, and this is gotten from the fishing merchant in each open world area's main hub. For the plains of Eidolon on Earth, we will have to go to the fisher High Lock, who can be found in Cetus, to get our first fishing spear. She sells 3 different spears and each cater to different kinds of fish, but overall the Lanzo spear is the most versatile as it can catch all the fish in the plains of Eidolon. For Orb Vallis on Venus, you will have to go to the fishing merchant The Business in Fortuna to get a fishing spear from him that actually works in Orb Vallis. Here you can get the shock prod spear and the stunner spear. And the stunner spear does a small AoE stun if you catch a fish with it, but both spears work fine here. And lastly, for the Cambion Drift, even though some of the Earth spears works fine here too, I would recommend getting a Cambion Drift spear from the daughter in the necrolist, as it works better for the fish here, and it will also allow you to hit through the weird glowing water substance, which normal spears can't in this area. I would also recommend the Episu spear, as it is a silent spear, so fishes don't fly away from you once you actually miss or hit them. Now that you have acquired your fishing spears, you will just need to equip it onto your gear wheel to wield it inside open world zones, and you only need to equip one spear to the gear wheel menu, as you can change spears inside the zones once you have equipped it. But before we head in, I would highly recommend getting some Luminous Dyes from the fishing merchant in Cetus, as this will allow you to highlight fish in the area, making it way easier to actually fish and find the fish you are looking for. So I highly recommend getting the Luminous Dye before you actually head into a fishing spot to fish. And a quick little tip is the Oxylus companion actually has an exclusive mod that can scan fish in the area for you without needing the Luminous Dye. So if you have the Oxylus companion and the scan aquatic lifeforms mod, it will not only highlight the fish, but it will also showcase nearby hotspots, which is a pretty nice feature. On top of the Luminous Dyes, you can also get something called the Vome, which actually relaxes the fish in the area, making them less likely to sprint off, and they will also move around slower, making them easier to catch. Now with our fishing spear ready and some Luminous Dye in our bag, we can actually begin fishing, so let's head into an open world zone and find yourself some body of water to fish in. And a good tip for the Luminous Dye is it can actually be used to check whether or not the water is fishable. If you throw down a Luminous Dye into the body of water and it sinks, that means either the body of water can't be fished in, or you already have an active Luminous Dye in the area. Now at the body of water you have found, take out your fishing spear and throw down the Luminous Dye into the water, and slowly the fish should start spawning in. Then all you have to do is throw down your fishing spear and hit the fish to catch it. If you have the wrong spear, it likely won't catch it on the first try. Some fish might take a few hits, but the Lanzo spear should one-hit most things. After you have caught a few fish, you can then extract from the mission, and these new fish you have caught should now be in your inventory and can be used for a few different things in Warframe, such as decorating, but most importantly, fish can be used to cut up for resources or turned in for standing at each of the open world hub fishing merchants. But hunting would still be the most effective method for actually gaining standing with the syndicate, so I highly recommend just keeping the fish for resources instead of actually using them for standing. And that is how the main fishing mechanic works. Only little difference is that in Orb Vallis with the shock spears, you need to hit the minigame in the red zone to catch the fish, but this should cover all the basics, so let's get into some of the stuff you should know about fishing. We will go over each fish and how to catch them in a later part of the video, but it's a good idea to know the different zones and where you can actually find the different kind of fish we are talking about. For Cetus, we have 3 different zones. The first is the lake zone, which can be found in the middle of the map. It is the big open lake. Here you can find fish that spawns in lake areas and is commonly known as just a great fishing spot overall, so either at the start of the lake or just at the rock in the middle is a great spot to actually fish in. The second zone is the pond, which is scattered all over the plains, and these are small bodies of water where you can fish in, and as seen here, these are the locations. And lastly, we have the ocean zone, which can be found on the far left or the far right side of the gate to Cetus, and these are the ocean areas where you will be able to fish in the ocean for ocean fish. For hotspots in the plains, you will be looking for small splashes of water, which means there's a hotspot active right there. Fishing in a hotspot will increase the amount of fish spawning on top of reducing the spawning time, so it's highly recommended to fish in a hotspot. Also, certain fish can actually only be found in hotspots, so that's a good thing to know about. And now for Orb Vallis, as we will have 3 different zones again, but not exactly the same as Cetus. Also, the water is basically a coolant and not water in this area, but we will just keep calling it water. In Orb Vallis, you can also fish in caves for specific fish. As you can see here, these marked caves right here are caves with ponds in where you can actually fish. So if you're looking for cave fish, you will have to head into one of these caves to actually be able to find a pond to fish where the cave fish can be found in. For the lake zone, just like on Cetus, there's a big open body of water in the middle of the zone. All you have to do is fish in this area to be able to find lake fish. And lastly, we also do have the pond areas, which are marked as small bodies of water all around the zone, as seen here. And for hotspots in Orb Vallis, instead of looking for splashes in the water, we will have to look for faint glowing effect above the water, as it can be seen as the coolant is more prominent here. And this hotspot works exactly the same as on Cetus, it just looks a little bit different. Now for the last open world area, the Cambion Drift, where the water is a glowing blue-like substance instead. And the Cambion Drift only has 2 different zones you can actually fish in, one being the surface, which is all fishing spots on the surface, while the other being in caves, so all fishing spots inside caves. Hotspots in the Cambion Drift works kind of like in Orb Vallis, as hotspots here are found by looking for faint blue glowing light in the gluey water areas. And this is a separate effect from the Vome and Fass zones, so just keep that in mind. Now hotspots can be kind of annoying to look for, as sometimes it is not as easy to spot them like it is on Cetus. So to make it easier, you can use the companion Oxylus, who has a mod called Scan Aquatic Lifeforms, which works kind of like having a personal Luminous Dye bot following you around. On top of this effect, you will also mark all nearby hotspots with a little red fish icon on your map, which can make it way easier to find fishing spots if you are having trouble spotting them. The only downside to this method is it can't be used while the Arcwing is active, because when the Arcwing is active, your companion is inactive. That means you have to despawn the Arcwing mid-air to actually see the hotspots if you're flying over them. But it is a great way to quickly check an area to see if a hotspot is active in the nearby vicinity. Bait in Warframe is a consumable item that can be bought from each fishing vendor at their respective main hubs for the open world areas. Bait works kind of like the Luminous Dye, you throw it into the water and it will increase the chances for specific fish to appear more often in that area. You can also throw multiple baits at the same time, but you can't throw the same bait multiple times to stack the effect. Once the bait runs out, you can throw another one, but stacking the same bait doesn't do anything. I also recommend mostly using bait near hotspots, as this will have a much stronger effect than compared to a normal fishing area without a hotspot. There's also certain fish that can only be spawned in with the use of bait, so keep that in mind that some fish need a bait to actually appear, while others just increase the chances of showing up when used the bait. But it works a little bit different in the Cambion Drift though. The bait for the Cambion Drift is called Fass or Vome Residue and can be found out in the Cambion Drift, but you will often need something called the processed Fass or Vome Residue for certain fish, which can be gotten from the daughter at rank 4 in the necrolist. To get the normal residue, you need to collect raw Fass or Vome Residue around the Cambion Drift depending on the current cycle, and for the processed Fass and Vome, you need to go to the daughter in the necrolist to buy the processed version, and the normal residue increases the chances for normal fish to spawn, while the processed residue will allow for special rare fish to actually spawn in. And that is basically the main use of bait, to give yourself a better chance at finding specific fish you're looking for, while certain more rare bait will actually allow for rare fish to spawn in, which you can't find otherwise without the bait. So now let's go over where you can actually find all of the fish in the different open world areas, where you have to look for them and what fishing spear you will actually have to use. On Earth we have something called the day-night cycle, which can affect which fish actually spawn, so we have to take that into account for certain fish too. This can be checked in-game, but there's also tools out there to check that makes this easier, like our Clamaris bot on the Discord server, which actually shows the day-night cycle for Earth, as well as Orb Vallis with the warm cold cycle, and also the Cambion Drift with the Vome and Fass cycle. So feel free to join the Discord if you want to. Now all of the fish in the plains of Eidolon will drop common resources, which are fish meat, fish scales and the fish oil, but each fish also have their own unique resource that can drop when cutting up the fish at the vendor. First is the moorfish, which gives you moorfish bones when gutted. You can find these during the daytime in the big lake of the plains of Eidolon. Next up is the Charek eel, which gives Charek ectoplast, and these can be found both in day and nighttime in the big lake as well. Next is the Knut, which gives Knut venom sacs, and these are found during the daytime in ponds all over the plains of Eidolon. The Yogwon get Yogwon stomachs when gutted, and this fish also shows up during the daytime in ponds all over the plains of Eidolon. Then there's the Mortis longfish, which gives Mortis horns, and this can be found during the daytime in ponds all over the plains of Eidolon as well. Next up is the Gupolla, which gives Gupolla spleens. It spawns in day and nighttime in the ocean areas, which can be found in the left and right side of the plains of Eidolon. Next up we have a common fish called the Tralloc, which gives the Tralloc eyes when gutted, and you will be able to find this fish only during daytime in the ocean zones of the plains of Eidolon. And that covers the common fish, which can be found just when fishing in their respective zones. So now let's move on to the fish that actually require bait to be caught. First up is the Charek, which gives Charek teeth, and you can find this during the day and nighttime using the Twilight bait in ocean ocean zones. Next up is the Carcina, which dropped the Carcina antennas. It also appears during day and night time, and you need the twilight bait as well in ocean zones. Then there's the Mercury, and they drop Mercury livers, and you can only catch these during day and night time, but only in the ocean hotspots using the Mercury bait. Now we have the Nork, which dropped the Nork brains. This fish appears only at night in the lake hotspots and requires Nork bait to actually spawn in. And the recommended spear for this fish are the Param from Cetus or the Shock Prod from the Orb Vallis fishing spears. Next up is the Codral, which give Codral tendrils, and this only appears during nighttime in ponds hotspots, and you can find these with using the Codral bait to actually catch them. And finally we have the Claphead, which drops the Serum beetle shells. These can only be found in nighttime in the ocean areas using the Claphead bait. And that covers all of the fish for Cetus, what they drop and where you can find them, so let's keep going until the next area, which will be Orb Vallis. Now let's talk about how to find the different fish in Orb Vallis and what resources you get when dismantling them at the fishing vendor. Also, unlike Earth, here we don't rely on the day and night cycle. In Orb Vallis we need to pay attention to warm and cold weather instead, so keep an eye out for that as you go fishing. The first fish is the II fish, which gives you II rotor blades when dismantled, and you can find this fish during warm weather, and it is located in ponds all over the Orb Vallis. Next up is the Scrubber, which gives you Scrubber Exa brain when dismantled, and you can find this fish both in warm and cold weather in caves around the Orb Vallis. Then we have the Echo Window, which gives you Echo Window anosopic sensors when dismantled, and you find this fish during warm weather in the lake across Orb Vallis. Next up is the Maya Window, which gives you Maya Window parallel biode. It can be found both during cold and warm weather in caves around Orb Vallis. Then we have the Bricky, which gives Bricky Muon battery when dismantled, and you can catch this fish during warm weather around ponds in the Orb Vallis. Next is the Tink, which gives you Tink Disciplator coil, and it can be found during cold weather around ponds in Orb Vallis as well. Next is the Zap Caddy, which gives a Zap Caddy Venado case, and you will be able to find this fish in cold weather around lakes in Orb Vallis. Then we have the Kriller, which gives Kriller thermal laser when dismantled, and this can be found during warm weather around the lake in Orb Vallis as well. Lastly, for the common fish, we have the Recaster, which gives you a Recaster Nero relay, and this fish can be found in cold weather, particularly in hotspots around the ponds. So now let's move on to the rare fish, which have a lower chance of spawning in and can be a little bit trickier to find. The Longwinder gives you Longwinder Laphilate Cotylate when dismantled, and this fish can be found during warm weather in hotspots around the lakes. Next is the Tromison, which gives Tromison Ectoplasma when dismantled, and this fish appears in cold weather in hotspots around ponds in Orb Vallis. Then we have the Charamode, which gives Charamode Segan modules when dismantled, and you can find this fish both in warm and cold weather, but it prefers cold weather and is found in cave hotspots around Orb Vallis. And finally we have the Cenefit, which gives Cenefit Exosense Analyzer, and this fish can be found both in cold and warm weather, but prefers warm weather and spawns in cave hotspots as well. And that covers all of the fish in Orb Vallis and where to find them. Now you're all set to go out and actually catch them all. Now let's talk about the fishy creatures which can be caught in the Cambion Drift. And just a head up, my pronunciation will be tested by these names as it already has been. And instead of the day-night cycle on Earth, the Cambion Drift follows the Vome and Fass cycle, so be sure to check which cycle you are in when fishing. And one more thing, the resources from these fish are a little bit more random, but I will cover the location and then you can just see on the screen which resources it will drop. First up is the Camoris, which can be found during both Vome and Fass cycle on the surface of the Cambion Drift. Next up is the Barbistio, which can be found during both Vome and Fass cycle, and you find this fish in the caves around Cambion Drift. Then we have the Cryptosocctus, which can be found during the Fass cycle on surface of the Cambion Drift. Then we have the Amnifolisi, which can be found during both the Fass and Vome cycle and is located in caves around the Cambion Drift. Next up is the Ostemia, which can be found during the Fass cycle in the hotspots on the surface of the Cambion Drift. Then we have the Clotinox, which can be found during the Vome cycle on the surface of the Cambion Drift. Next up is the Vitospina, which can be found during both the Fass and Vome cycle in caves around the Cambion Drift. Then we have the Duroid, which can be found during both Fass and Vome cycle in hotspots around caves in the Cambion Drift. Then we have the Chronicord, which can be found in both Fass and Vome cycles in hotspots around caves as well in the Cambion Drift. Lastly we have the Lobocystrid, which can be found during the Vome cycle on the surface of the Cambion Drift. Now that we have covered all of the common fish, let's go over the baited fish, which requires the processed Vome or Fass residue to actually find them. This works just like bait from Cetus or Fortuna. While the normal Vome and Fass residue just increases the chance of common and uncommon fish, these rare fish will require processed Fass or Vome residue to actually spawn in. First up is the Mixus tomata, which can be found during the Vome cycle in hotspots around caves, but you will need the processed Vome residue to actually attract it. Next up is the Aquapulmo, which can be found during the Vome cycle in hotspots around the surface when you use the processed Fass residue. Lastly, we have the flag Elocanth, which can be found doing both Vome and Fass cycles in the hotspots on the surface, but also requires the processed Fass residue. And that wraps up the fish in the Cambion Drift and where to find them. Hopefully you're ready to go out and catch them all with this information. When fishing, I recommend fishing in hotspots with the Oxylus companion and while using a frame that has access to stealth to be able to fish most peacefully. And that's it for fishing. Hopefully that covers everything you needed to know about fishing. If I missed anything, feel free to help out in the comment section down below. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment, and if you want more Warframe tips, don't forget to like and subscribe for future content, and check out my other videos for more guides and tips. We also do have a Discord server, so feel free to hop in there and become a part of the community. Stay tuned, stay tipsy, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace out.